The relationship between Amherst Media and the town of Amherst goes back more than 40 years. Perhaps the feeling of the nonprofit in the face of an unexpected move by the town to bid out its services were best summed up by someone who has worked with both boards. Isaac Ben Ezra, the Select Board's representative to Amherst Media's board for 9 years, spoke to the emotional strain between one of the oldest public access centers in the country and its community leaders in the wake of this decision.
So I feel like the bride that's being told, you've done a good job, but I got to look around. I feel jilted. I feel jilted because the relationship that I've enjoyed with the town and its representatives has been one of working together.
But doubts about the future of that relationship were in full view February 6th as Select Board members, Amherst Media, and its supporters openly aired their differences.
I think that there have been a number of inaccurate statements made or misleading statements that have been made, and the creation of fear that is unwarranted amongst a large number of members of the public that something has been intended or inadvertently will have the result of somehow damaging a very valuable institution. It flies in the face of decades of working relationship between the town and Amherst Media.
The contract between the town and Amherst Media officially ended October 15, 2016, with the signing of the new 10-year contract with Comcast. Normally, the town would have begun negotiations with Amherst Media for a new contract. But town manager Paul Bockelman said new state rules require the town to bid out the work.
But the rules of the game changed, and we have had to comply with new rules issued by the state.
Those new rules, Bockelman said, required the contract for media services to go out for bid through a request for proposals process, otherwise known as an RFP. Not so, says Amherst Media, asserting that other options are currently being used in 17 Western Massachusetts municipalities that do not include the RFP system.
The town manager continues to put forth written material to you and to the media as though the town is being forced by the Department of Revenue with no other alternatives. Recently, we were told to look at the towns of Lexington and Concord to see what the RFPs look like. Since our town officials are using those for guidance, I did just that. Lexington's RFP was formulated 13 years ago when the town decided to start a community access center instead of the one historically run by the cable company. This process is always used when initiating a new access center contract. In Concord, the town manager has full control. Concord's town manager is currently moving forward to making the once independent nonprofit PEG Access Center into a municipal department.
Lesko said that was exactly what the town manager had in mind when he recently told Amherst Media personnel that he had asked a Select Board member to research the possibility of turning the public access operations into a department of town government. The Select Board member's findings? There were sufficient funds for 2 people to run Amherst Media's 3 channels for the town. Amherst Media has 4 full-time staff and numerous interns and volunteers.
I will not highlight again for you the many services beyond government coverage we do for the community organizations and the residents. That was highlighted for you in our annual report. I will not repeat the number of 188 meetings we covered or the number of hours our intern staff and members work to provide you that coverage. But I guarantee you, no 2 town employees could ever service all of the community as the independent Amherst Media does every day and has done for the past 41 years.
Why all the resistance to RFPs and bidding for government contracts? It is, after all, normal practice for towns to bid out goods and services. Demetria Shabazz, vice president of Amherst Media's board, pointed out that public access stations are different in that their services can't be quantified by bottom lines. At a time of growing media consolidation, they provide critical public access, education, and government transparency, things that tend to disappear when vendors don't understand the role of public access.
Again, we've done our research. Since about 2006, actually, beginning on the West Coast in California, when RFPs and enterprise funds were introduced, so went those access stations. One of the best examples is Austin Access in the state of Texas, my home state. Austin Access had one of the most successful access centers. Once RFPs were introduced, a film group took it over. Nothing against film people, I study film. But the public part and the government part of Access Austin went away. That's not an access center. That's not a center that invites the public in to have their own shows, to have their own voice, really, be shared with others in the community.
I'm not ready to decide tonight because I would like, as we always do, to go back and reconsider the information.
The Select Board's decision on whether or not to issue an RFP is expected by February 28th.